Urbanizing with Nature, an assessment of the effects of human activities on water bodies in the Kumasi Metropolis. Kumasi is the most populated locality in the Ashanti region. The city covers 254 square kilometers and envelopes 10 sub-metropolitan territories. The geography is undulating, and the metropolis is crossed by a significant waterway, the Owabe, and streams like Subin, Wewe, Sisai, Abuabo, and Insubeng. These water bodies, particularly Owabe, fill in as the primary wellspring of drinking water to occupants inside the metropolis as well as the district in general. Despite the basic pretended by these water bodies in the financial prosperity of occupants, human exercises have undermined the elimination of some of them, expanding on water courses by home designers and urban agrarian practices are a portion of the human exercises that have dirtied these water bodies. This may halfway clarify the continuous event of flooding in the metropolis. It is disappointing to see the city acclaimed as the Garden City having her waters in a filthy state. Urbanizing with Nature examines the relationship between human activities along the surface of water bodies in the Kumasi Metropolis and the quality of the water body. The large-scale impact of urbanization is expected to become even more amplified as rapid urbanization spills over to the rest of the world. Today, 55% of the world's population lives in cities, but 68% are expected to be living in cities by the year 2050. 2.5 billion appreciation of the current numbers, with about 90% of this increase experienced in Africa and Asia. All around the world, the exceptional pace of urban development has disturbed the interest for land for new turn of events. The continuous land emergency has uplifted the infringement of an elimination of open spaces and naturally touchy zones. Ecologically sensitive areas that suffers a lot from massive encroachment include wetland, streams, rivers, lakes, ponds, among other water bodies. The urbanization process of Ghana, coupled with the encroachment of ecological sensitive areas, makes it an ideal case for this study. The researchers studied two major water bodies in the Kumasi Metropolis of Ghana. These water bodies are the Wewe and Subin rivers. The Wewe River, a typical example of an inland water body in Kumasi, takes its source from mountains near Abuabo Nkwanta and flows for about 13 miles southwest towards Ebrim and Weweso. It flows through the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, specifically the Botanical Garden, and empties its water into the River Sisa at Ahensan in Kumasi. The Subin River, on the other hand, is one of the most revered river deities in the Ashanti Kingdom. The river was initially named Insuibeng, meaning the river is very close by those who settled around it. This was later changed to Subin River, which is currently one of the most polluted water bodies in the Ashanti Kingdom, despite its traditional value. Despite the enormous potentials the water bodies in the city present, they serve as the final disposal point for liquid and solid waste. With regards to the Wewe River, the major human activities is vegetable farming within its 100-feet buffer.
We have three main instruments here for the analysis. We have the Lumex mercury analyzer, And then we have the inductively coupled plasma instrument. What we do here is to take known mass of our sample onto a sample boat. And I bring it into the instrument. And I see the run from here. So in a matter of a minute and a half, I have my signal for mercury out there. I will just have to integrate it, and the instrument will tell me how much mercury I have in the sample. On the other hand, this is a sophisticated instrument used for measuring all kinds of metals in every substance that you have.
Seth Obriabwa, a graduate assistant from the Department of Chemistry, walks us through the chemical and biological analysis of the water bodies that have been contaminated by these activities.
For the sediments that were air dried and sieved, parts were analyzed by the Ghana Standards Authority for residual pesticides. Based on the activities we found there, domestic homes were built close to these rivers, others were farming along these, and some of these farmers use pesticides so that they could improve their crop yield. So we wanted to know how much of these pesticides have been introduced. Along them too, we looked at the nutrients that were there in terms of phosphates and nitrates. Heavy metals were also looked at, since some of these fertilizers contain heavy metals. Microbiologically too, we looked at how human activities like release of waste that contribute to germs into the system, also in the rivers. And the interesting results that were found would be shared with you. First, to mention and to be fair, we did not detect any pesticide residue in the three rivers, any of them. Along the three general classes of pesticides are organochlorines, organophosphorus, and synthetic pyrethroids. But organochlorines have been banned in many countries for both exportation, so we cannot even import them, though we may say some are found, example like the DDT. These are the ones that can be persistent in the environment. But once we did not find any of them, or we did not detect it, we want to assume that they've not been used over a period of time. That is why they were not detected. Not to say they were not there. In chemistry and in analysis in chemistry, we never say zero. But we just say they were not detected. Though the gas chromatograph that was used, which is mass spectrometer, was very sensitive, yet these were not detected. For organophosphorus and synthetic pyrethroids, these are naturally used, but they easily break down in the environment. So we can't say that possibly by the time we picked our samples and to the analysis, they were not present or they were not detected in the samples.
It can be clearly seen that within the context of the Kumasi Metropolis, instead of the city urbanizing with nature, the city is currently urbanizing against nature. This therefore threatens the city's ability to actualize its potential of being a sustainable city. There is therefore the urgent need for city authorities to put in place measures to save the water bodies in the city.
The development of sustainable cities is an avenue for city authorities to ensure intergenerational justice in the promotion of the efficient allocation of environmental, social, and economic resources within the city center. This makes sustainable city development an environmental, social, and economic right in the course of developing our cities. Within the context of the Kumasi Metropolis, the study showed that the once beautiful garden city of West Africa, instead of urbanizing with nature, is currently urbanizing against nature. So this study showed that, for example, instead of ensuring that residential facilities are located within the allocated buffer zones, they are breaking these land use regulations and using water bodies as the final disposal point for their liquid and solid waste. What about agricultural activities? How do they dispose their pesticides they use? How do they dispose their other agricultural stuff? This study shows that there is no control and everybody is doing anything that they like along the water bodies. People are building along the water bodies, settlements are growing along the water bodies, commercial activities are being undertaken along the water bodies. The question is, who is supposed to ensure that human activities, land use activities, are coexistent with important natural resources such as water bodies? The researchers therefore propose that policymakers must start paying serious attention to the management of water bodies to ensure that there is coexistence between the land use activities and the water bodies. So, for example, the researchers are proposing that all wetlands should be compulsorily acquired by the government and developed into beautiful green space and parks. When most people travel abroad, they say that, oh, it's beautiful, we see nice flowers, nice parks, nice open spaces. The question is it beyond that as a country? Let's consciously plan these spaces and make our cities attractive. Do we know the benefit we are going to get when we begin to make our cities attractive? That is where the tourism sector is going to be developed and make sure that people travel within the country. What about the planning units that are supposed to manage these resources? To what extent have we put in place measures that they have been equipped? To what extent are our planning systems taking advantage of emerging technologies to manage human activities along the water bodies? There is a need for us to consciously resource the planning unit to make sure that they are effectively managing the water bodies. This study is therefore saying that yes, there is a possibility that we can urbanize with nature. There is a possibility that that swimming river that has been destroyed can be made clean, and that river, people can go and relax along it. For us to do that, we need institutions. There is also the need for us to develop an urban water resource management policy, where we clearly state how we're going to manage human settlement along water bodies to make sure that they coexist, to ensure the sustainable development of